Broadcasting live from the secret studios on the banks of the Brandywine River in Delaware is Mitchell K.C. Hill. And up to the Great White North in Vancouver is Alexander Knight. And we get all over the place. Welcome to The Last Angry DJ. My name is Mitchell K.C. Hill. I wouldn't know it unless they put it there on the screen. So that's the benefit of being an old disc jockey. So I'm doing the old stuff. The new stuff, it's being handled by a friend way up north, Mr. Alexander Knight. Come on in, Alex. Give us a two-shot. There he is.
How's it going?
That's the best smile you can manage. You're not a smiler,
I smoke. It's not even a smile. It's just a smirk. It's just, it just kind of goes up like this, and that's about the best I can do.
Sorry,
unless it's spontaneous. I smile if it's spontaneous.
You ever stick your tongue out in pictures? That's one thing that I noticed that the youth.
Do I look like a guy that sticks his tongue out in photos?
Maybe.
I'm just no fun. That's all.
You ever cut your hair strangely so you got like a mohawk running through the top center?
That's a nice callback.
Okay, just trying.
Nice callback. Oh, did we just lose
you
Mitch?
And me? We just lost Mitch.
I'm gonna go to. Let me just go to myself. This is The Last Angry DJ, episode 89. We are here with the panel. Mitch just dropped, but I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. If you're just tuning in now, this is the show that intersects old media versus new media. We talk about the world of broadcast, podcasting, media production, technology, and then pepper in a little bit at the end our media picks on any interesting TV shows or movies or anything thought-provoking that we've seen. And I am going to introduce Mark Giuliani, who's an integral part of this panel, an entrepreneur, an architect, a radio station owner. What's going on, Mark?
How are you, Alexander? It's interesting here. I mean, just the two of us are doing the show now. Let's time Mitch and see how long it takes him to recycle.
I hope his internet didn't go
Crash.
out. We'll see. I just realized that this is actually a good opportunity to update my show template because I don't have a 2-up of just the two of us here. I can go let me just go to a
RFI. Put it in RFI.
We're gonna have a black box in the middle.
There's Mitch. I see him. He just joined us again.
See, I don't mind the black box for Mitch. That's like, in solidarity to Mitch disappearing. He's perished, and we're gonna all wear black. But Mitch is back. We just did the show open. So,
did you do a good job of the show open?
We did a great job. In fact, I'm going to step in and turn it over to Mitch.
There we go. Over to Mitch.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. What happened there for me was my Sony just stopped. And I leave the Sony on for like weeks at a time, so apparently I should reset it. But it just, fingers crossed. Are you hoping that it completely goes for the show, and it becomes the broadcast Boffins, Mark and Alex? I don't know.
I would never wish that. I would never.
Absolutely.
Weren't we having
people
a good
watch
time
the show
though?
to see us kibitzing at each other, yelling and screaming?
Yeah, Mark's like, oh man, it was so peaceful. It was so calm. That brief 30 seconds.
All right.
Put a sign up that said no solicitation.
Come on, Mark. Give us
the
behave face. Come on, give us the iconic bait. There it is.
We need a sound effect to go with that.
We gotta make some merch, man. We gotta make some T-shirts with that face. That brilliant $1 million face.
I think so. All right, here we are. We're show number 89. We're fast approaching number 90 next week. Steven Stryker will be here because Mark has to take the day off for reasons which we will not go into, right, Mark?
That's right.
No,
that's
no
right.
talking.
We want to keep the listeners and the viewers that we have.
What stays on the Last Angry DJ stays on the Last Angry DJ, or something to that effect. Isn't that a famous Las Vegas thing? By the way, Vegas isn't doing that well these days. Seems like their marketing is falling through the cracks. They don't have something new to entice people to go there. So maybe gambling is not the thing to do. There are other places you can gamble. You can go to Reno or Tahoe or other places like that, Jersey. They can do all those things. Anyhow, there we go. So here we are. We're here to talk about things that affect you in the media business, things that are good, things that are bad, and things that are quite esoteric, I will say. Alex, what's your first esoteric subject that you'd like to bring in here? Here it comes.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this new thing that Apple is introducing. So this is a feature that is coming in, and yes, this is a new thing. By the way, if you're watching live on the show right now, have a look at the lower thirds. Let me know what you think of this new design for our question show topic format. We're actually going to show that stuff now. But one of the things that Apple is going to be adding in iOS 26.2, which is currently in beta, is a new feature in the Apple Podcast link called timed links, which is interesting. So if you put in a link to something you're discussing on the show, it will automatically pop up with some kind of banner on your device, so you can actually click on that resource, which is actually useful, because oftentimes I find when hosts are talking about a product or maybe something that they're recommending, it takes quite a few taps to get to the show notes to actually pull that link and open it in a web browser. So I do like this idea. Here's the problem that I have with this, is that podcasts are fundamentally built on an open standard of RSS. And this is something that is now going to be proprietary to Apple's platform. It is not something that any podcaster will benefit from on any other platform. And I just wish if Apple were good stewards of the podcast standards, which they have been up until now, I just wish that they would collaboratively work on the RSS podcast spec to add this feature to the XML so that everybody could adopt it. So no matter what platform you are on, that this would be something that everybody could experience. So I wanted to get your thoughts. We can go around the room, and if anyone is on chat, you guys can chime in. Please do chime in now. What do you think? Proprietary experiences versus open standards that can be adopted by all, the pros and cons. What do you think?
Well, who would want anything but an open standard that everybody else can adopt? You had to add that extra, at the end of the sentence. So, we want the major dark company that has billions of dollars that force us to use their standard. One of the reasons I like RSS and XML is it's you can read it with your eye. If for some reason you're tired and you don't want to use a reader, you can poke in there and mess around with RSS. So I'm hoping they don't do anything like that. What do they do? They're talking about putting hyperlinks in it so that they can link to specific subjects, and then you click some kind of a link on the, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Or
so
what does it sound like?
I think I have to. There's a screenshot of it, and let me just hold on a second. Let me see if I can get that back. So of course I just accidentally closed the browser tab. Hold on. Stand by. Let me see if I can get
standing by.
Here we go.
While you're doing that, I'll bring in some comments.
I've got it here. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
You can do
Never
that.
mind. We'll
Here,
save the comments.
Save the comments for a second here. Let me just
explain what's going on there, Alex.
Well, so there's also AI transcription here, but here we go. Is there a screenshot? There it is. So like things you can see in these examples here. So they've got links to someone put a link to a song on Apple Music, and it shows up here with a little banner in the lower third of the screen. This is on the player screen, and you can just tap that. It would take you right to Apple Music. Links to web articles, or in this example here, you can see books.apple.com. So someone linked to a book in the Apple Book Store that they were recommending it, and now shows up with, pretty graphics, and it's a nice way to display a link. Now, historically, you would have to, again, many clicks to go to the episode show notes to try to find these, but I do like the design. Again, the problem that I have is nobody benefits this but Apple's platform. Now, it's not that Apple, I'm opposed to Apple doing stuff that only Apple users benefit from, because clearly they like their closed ecosystem, and that's fine. But the thing is, podcasts were built on an open standard. They were built on an RSS spec. And so now nobody else is going to benefit from that. And that's really what we're talking about here.
All right. So it's improving upon a standard that was, what's it got to be, 20 years old now for the early days of podcast, and adding a little more interactivity to it, a little more relevance, and you can get things in the proper context when you're talking about something. I don't know how much more work it makes for the podcaster, but why not just avoid all of that altogether and go right over to YouTube and make it a video podcast and just show whatever it is that you're talking about? I mean, that's a visual medium. If you're going to start adding visual content to it, then use the medium that best supports that. I mean, I'm not against it, Apple doing that. I don't like the idea it's proprietary, but anything they can do to improve the experience, I'm all for it. And let's face it, podcasting needs a little kick in the ass to, become a little more modern. I mean, how much more modern can it become?
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, we're talking about an old standard. You're absolutely right. And, obviously podcasts are mainly audio driven, although you can submit RSS podcast feeds, but I mean, video podcast feeds specifically. But I mean, who's watching videos inside of Apple Podcasts anyways? I think, I'm sure there are some people, but it's probably such a small percentage. Everybody's moved to YouTube for videos. That's pretty much, you can't compete with YouTube. So let's just keep it on the subject of audio. But you're right. How modern can you make podcasts? I think there are little low-hanging fruit things like this that you can improve. And there are certain things like AI chat transcripts that I think are cool. By the way, all this stuff is opt-in. If you don't like this feature, I checked the Apple Podcast Connect dashboard this morning. This new feature, which is in beta, you can actually just disable that. So if you do not want Apple to parse your show note links and make these as timed links, you can actually turn that off. In fact, you can even opt out of the AI chat transcription. So there are ways of opting out of this stuff if you don't like it. But I agree. I mean, this is old technology.
Yeah, by the way, Jerry Hoyle, I'm responding to Jerry's comment in the event chat that I never looked better when I blooped out of the show. So thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Again, speaking of low-hanging fruit.
We're going to take a poll on that.
Yeah, wouldn't we do that? Let's do that. Let's poll it.
All
Are
right,
we polling
while
the
we're on this
RSS
subject,
or getting me off the show?
Yeah, while we're on the subject,
Let's kick me off the show.
John Wallace just chimed in and they're talking about the subject that we're on. It says that it makes it a better experience. It's a win, and it widens the gap of other players. It helps drive people back to Apple platforms like Apple Music that we just saw, and it also is why should Apple be helping Android? So there's some of John Wallace's
Android
comments.
thing. I mean, it's not just Android. It's
no, but if you looked
iOS.
at all their samples there, they were pushing and promoting Apple Music and the Apple Book program. So it's kind of like internal. If you push
Don't
something
you think
out,
they have people sitting in a room saying, "Okay, podcasting. How do we make it more better, good?
more Apple.
How do we make it more ours?" So they think, well, we could tie into our music, we could tie into our books. But it's kind of saying, if you're going to point to something, it has to be an Apple thing that you're pointing to. Why can't it just be another link to something else on the internet?
Oh, I think it can. I think for the marketing purposes, they're pointing it back to themselves. What would happen if you clicked on an Apple Music link if you're on an Android? What does it do? I don't even know what it does. Does it take you to Apple Music's website?
Well, there is Apple Music on Android. They did make that app a few years ago. So you can access it.
It's okay it is kind of an open platform in a way because it's addressing the two major platforms for phones.
And the one thing I do like about podcasting is that it doesn't have that draconian system that our friends over at YouTube have for striking you if you play any amount of a hit song or a song that's out there that's been copywritten. So how do they avoid that? Or does Apple own everything and it's okay as long as it goes through the Apple system? That might be an interesting breakthrough for us if we wanted to start playing music. Like, I just want to play the intro of a song, 10 seconds of it. If we did it through the Apple system, does that give us some kind of a grace? Is it a safety area that somehow ties in with YouTube or not? Or
I wish. That would be nice,
too?
but that's not. That's not really a thing. I mean, on that subject too, that would be. Speaking of rights too, that would be a nice thing if Apple actually contributed monetarily, if they just gave some money to the music company so podcasters could use it. That would never happen though. They would never do that. But
be careful.
John Wallace is talking about how, like, why should Apple help Android? I don't see this as helping Android. My issue is that I think podcasters want the same experience for their content across all platforms. I obviously realize that is not. I mean, it's already the experience is already different from podcast client to podcast client, and even Spotify is doing their own thing. And I'm just not a fan of that. I think podcasts should remain an open standard with RSS. If you want to add something, or add it to the RSS spec. And then that way, when they wanted a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago now, when they added the capability to tag episodes or shows as a serialized format, that is something that was added to the RSS podcast spec. And then all podcast hosting companies added this functionality. That way it was consistent across all platforms. So no matter, if you submitted your podcast to a directory, it would show up if it was tagged as a serialized show, which works really great for, crime and fiction and all those types of shows. It would show up consistently. So that's what I'm saying is I just want to see this added to the spec.
Explain what you mean by serialized, just so we have all understand.
Like our show, the topics change week to week, right? So if we were doing, say, a show that had seasons, like a TV show, for example, let's say we were doing a radio drama of The Shadow. So we had season 1, right? So we want to be able to group all the episodes that are related to season 1, right? And then they also added the ability to release trailers. So you can actually tag an episode as a trailer. And so visually, there's a different design and a different experience to the end user. When they're looking at the podcast, they can see the separation between this is a trailer, this is a teaser, this is the season containing all the episodes from that season. It's just a better, more logical way of organizing your content. That was something that was done to the RSS spec. This isn't part of the RSS spec. That's my complaint with it.
Got it. And John
go ahead.
Chimes in and says RSS wasn't created for podcasts.
Yes, but eventually
really
it made
simple, wasn't it?
Right.
It was
okay, fine. It wasn't, but then eventually
browser.
it was. So
yeah.
I know it from the news industry because that's how we feed news stories to the websites through RSS.
Right. Essentially, it's just another version of FTP, except
real simple streaming. Real simple.
Yeah, I realize that. The other thing that's interesting about this is it brings up an interesting subject. Is that traditionally podcasts have been audio only. There hasn't been another functionality to it that adds visual to it. And you drive your car, you got podcasts on, you've got your iPhone, you're listening to it. It's sort of like audiobooks, but I guess there's no visual component. If they change it around so it's has a visual component or a linked component that requires that interaction, I think it has some interesting repercussions for the format. Is it possible, Alex, that YouTube and doing a podcast on YouTube with a visual component they're starting to feel the heat over that? Do you think more people are finding that a much better way to go in terms of doing a podcast? Are there?
I don't think Apple.
I
don't think video on. If you're asking about video on Apple's podcast platform, I just think it's just irrelevant to that. I don't think 99.999% of people use it that way. It's really just for audio. So no, I don't think they're feeling the heat there. I think Apple has good intentions behind this. I think they genuinely want to make the podcast experience the best that they can. And maybe they feel, I don't know what they're internally thinking. Maybe they feel frustrated at the antiquated nature of the RSS podcast spec, which it is. And so they just decided, well, we're going to just do our own thing. So I'm just conflicted about it. That's all.
What is Microsoft saying about this?
Microsoft, as if they're relevant.
Well, they are relevant because they are a 300-pound gorilla that's in the room. So, I'm just interested in what the big players out there say, because I know what Microsoft would like to do. They would like to buy it and then make it their very own something, and you have to use their product in order to get through it. Isn't there something else going on like that with Microsoft? They just they want to take over something else and make it strictly theirs. I mean, they have a reputation for buying things on the cheap and then making them their own and then abandoning them after everybody's like. Didn't Cisco kind of like go away that way when they were bought by Microsoft and they switched to Teams, things like that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Go ahead, Mark.
John doesn't know what this really has to do with RSS. To be honest, Apple added new features to their application.
What are the new features that we're talking about? The ones that Alex just mentioned?
Well, he's talking
Yes.
about the time link. Well, my problem is that this isn't about RSS, and that's my issue. Is I wanted Apple to just work with the standards body to make sure that this is adopted by everyone. I want this to be just something that is part of the RSS specification, if that's possible at all, to make this. Anyways, I don't want to go on. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but that's my issue. Is that this
That's
should
a bad
be about
analogy. I don't like dead horses.
This should be no horses were harmed in the production of this show.
Yeah, of course.
This should be about RSS, and I want it to be.
Okay. So, it's kind of trailing off on that, what you just brought up as the subject. Wouldn't it be good if somehow our podcast could be fully integrated with a application like Mukana that allows questions to be asked and chatting and things like that? A much more elegant system that isn't complicated. Because I think the cost of ownership of Mukana is that people have to get beyond the fact that they got to go behind grandma's house through the woods to be able to get signed up, and people seem to be less and less likely to do that. If it was built in to YouTube or Zoom in some capacity, isn't there one application that can do all of those things? Because I think we would all agree, particularly Mark, because he's using it, that chat and people asking questions is an important part of a live presentation. Comments after the fact certainly can be done on pretty much all of these things. But how many people are going to catch on to the idea of doing a live podcast is a much better experience, and the more people that participate in that live, the better. So how do you do that? You make it part of the application. Don't you think people would use things like Mukana if it was integrated into YouTube? Or
Mitch,
Zoom?
are you saying that Apple should introduce live streaming for audio podcasts, because right now it's not part of Apple Podcasts. Traditionally, It's just a download. That's interesting. I wonder why it seems like something that should be there, and I never really thought about that, because live streaming is historically something that is only done with video on YouTube. And you know what? If Apple Podcasts had if there was a way to live stream audio really easily to Apple, I would certainly for this show. I think we would do it. We would just make it available if people wanted.
How does it happen now? I don't know anything about how to put a podcast up. How do you? If you're using Apple's background, how do you just take a recording and upload it, and then they have to approve it, or
no? So what you do is you have to have a hosting platform that is, for example, like there's tons of companies like Buzzsprout, Libsyn, and Podbean, and all these companies that host your media files, and they basically they give you an RSS feed, and then you take that RSS feed and you need an Apple ID, so you create an account, and then Apple has their own dashboard. You submit that RSS feed, and as long as that RSS feed contains at least one episode and it's a compliant RSS feed, you hit publish, then you wait a couple days for Apple to approve the feed. Once the feed is approved, every new episode that you publish and make live in that feed will just get pushed out to their platform.
Cool. Hey, by the way, with Buzzsprout, didn't we just hit an interesting point with them?
Oh, I got a notification saying we have 2,500 downloads. So that's
Is that good?
More than, it's not a lot, but it's more than what I thought. So I thought that was
So
interesting.
statistically,
data.
we have, last I looked, 220 some subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And each show has a certain number of people that watch it. Depending on our guest, it seems to be the thing that affects the number of people that have watched it. We seem to catch a lot more hits after the fact than we do during the fact. So during a live show, we seem to get 40 or 50 people watching, like right now. And the likes, I don't understand. There's just so many different ways that you can throw your 2 cents in there about whether you like the show. And I don't know how we get from here to where we need to go there any faster than the way we're doing it. I guess we have to interact. I know I'm changing the subject here, but we're doing a lot of interesting new stuff, and we're not on the bleeding edge, but we're doing stuff with Mukana tied into our YouTube live broadcast. People have the ability to ask questions. It's live, so you can read our facial expressions and see that visual impact. And even just as a straight-up audio show, it's fine. It rivals any good podcast out there as far as that goes. So
John Wallace says that live isn't better. It's just different. And I don't know that I agree with
that's
John,
a waste of bandwidth. Come on, John.
I think live is a little bit better because with live, you get a lot of interaction with the audience. Like you couldn't do this right now if this was a pre-recorded podcast that was put up. We couldn't have all this interaction between Jerry and John and all the others out there. So I think with the benefit of Mukana and tools like that is that people get to ask questions. You get to talk to the host directly during the show. It's kind of like having a call-in, but an unlimited number of people can call in at once.
Yeah, and I don't mind if there are negative input. I mean, you're perfectly willing to make a comment, and you don't like something like me being on the show or something else like that's fine. I'm a big boy. I can take that. I got thick skin for it. But I do like that. I like that immediacy that we're able to respond to that. And as a audio-only program that's been shifted to a non-live event, it's still relevant because people are interacting with it. So it's fun to listen to, even still. So I go along with that. And I appreciate John's input.
We have a couple comments here. So Jerry chimes in and says most podcasts are listened to on demand on the listener's schedule. And that's true. That's a benefit to the podcast over live and interactive. John disagrees with me. He says a good host doesn't require conversation. I guess that makes the three of us lousy.
Well, I speaking as the host, I guess so. I mean, John, maybe I'm not your cup of tea. I mean, I don't profess to be a professional host. I'm just a guy that used to be on the radio that's doing a video podcast. So our numbers will speak for themselves as far as I'm concerned. You know, how do you get to be there? I mean, I watch Bill O'Reilly. I watch Bill Maher on Politically Incorrect and Real Time now. I've been watching him for like 30 years, and it took a long time for him to grow on me because he's kind of an obnoxious person. Is that come with the territory for all people that are hosts or podcasters, that you have to be just slightly annoying? I mean, I saw Mark nodding his head there, so either you agree or you've got a crick in your neck you're fixing there.
I had a crick in my neck I was fixing.
Okay, he's got a crick. That's a slang for creek, too. Whatever you want to do. So it's interesting. And I salute Alex for bringing this up, and I salute all you guys for commenting on it, because this is the cutting edge of where we're going with this business. There is other stuff is going to come. You know, podcasting came and, you know, it was an immediate gigantic hit. What's the next thing? What's coming down the pike? Is it a modification of that into something else? Is radio going to morph into podcasting? Is that where radio's headed? Is radio going to cease to be a music-oriented format and more talk and communications? It already is. It's already moving that way. Because, you know, let's examine that point for a second. Change happens sometimes very quickly and sometimes very slowly. But, you know, I think about music on radio, and I have to remember that everybody has access to everything. So why do you need the radio in order to hear the music you like to hear? In fact, the radio might do a better job of selecting the songs you want to hear in the order you want to hear than you could yourself, because it's got AI. It follows your habits. I mean, hasn't Pandora and Spotify been doing that for ages? Some better than others, but they've got AIs involved in doing that. So the question is...
It's about the talent.
What can I'd like to think that,
I mean,
too.
radio is about the talent, and it's about having those people. I mean, Pandora, you're just listening to one song after the next, after the next, after the next. That's great if that's what you want to do on demand. But if you want to hear some personality behind the music, why it's linked together and stuff, that's what radio offers.
Well, I wish you were around as my manager back when I was doing radio in the big cities. The general manager or the program director always said the same thing. And, you're going to cringe when I say this. It's about the music, not you. So we want
And
you
where
to
did that get
emphasize
radio?
the music and play. And this is on radio. And it's like, why? Because every station in this market that we compete with is playing the same songs. So where do we excel? Where do we become different? How do we, distinguish ourselves as an alternative with the personalities? And I think Alex would agree that the personalities that engage their listeners either as in a companionable way or an entertaining way or did a lot of fun. I mean, why is Howard Stern such a phenomenon in the radio business? It's because he's a character. It's not because of the songs he plays. In fact, it's strange.
It's personality.
You got to find ways to be unique. And he is certainly someone who is very, very unique, and you need to stand out. I mean, he's been very open about how he's crafted his whole persona, right? And so, you don't want to sound like 99% of the other people that are on the air. And he found a way to do that. And that's really hard to do.
And it's ironic and counterproductive in a way because, Howard always made him out to be a champion of music and rock and roll. And he was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he has all these superstars shown on his show. How much of their music is he playing?
He's a talk show. Talk show.
Well, he might talk about it, but he's not a music DJ. He's not. He
That's
didn't
what I'm
work.
saying.
Well, he
I'm
might have
agreeing.
worked in music radio in the past. But he was just, he just started being a little crazy, and it sort of caught on. I don't think he just decided one day that he was going to be Howard Stern. I think he evolved into Howard Stern, and I think he found his way in doing that. So maybe that's what's going to happen to podcasting and this business is that you're going to distinguish yourself by being a unusual personality or the way you talk about things. Or a great clever name like The Last Angry DJ, which is a clever name. I'm not sure it's a name that's so good that people say, well, I got to watch that. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to tune into that show. If you're Joe Rogan and you have no idea who Joe Rogan is, why would you watch it? Because that name sounds familiar to you. It's top of the mind. So if you want a guy that talks about aliens and conspiracy theories and has Elon Musk on every week, Joe Rogan's your choice. If you want to listen to a guy that gives away money, does great stunts, then maybe it's Mr. Beast. And it just goes on ad infinitum. Did I say that correctly? That's Roman, Greek, something. I don't know, Latin. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's all very interesting. It's sort of like a crock pot, slow cooker. We just throw as much shit in there as we can that we think is a great idea, and then we just put it on cook, and we come back at dinner time, and it's either great or it's horrible. So, we've been at this for almost 2 years. We're coming up on our 100th show. We think we're on to something. We don't know quite what that something is. We do know one thing for sure. We're not doing a fantastic job of promoting our program. We need to do a better job of promoting it. And what's that require? Money, time, a lot of effort. As far as our content goes, I think we have plenty of interesting things to talk about. I mean, weigh in on it. I mean, we got lots of guys out there that have comments about what we're doing. Let's hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. And speaking of comments, Mark, can you remind people how to ask questions on the show?
Please go to ask.thelastangrydj.com. That's ask.thelastangrydj.com. We need your
What happened
questions.
to the QR code? It got different.
That's new.
Okay.
New
Is that a
and
standard, or is that just you being
That's a new
fancy?
QR code that I designed. That Mimo Live actually has QR codes. I just learned this a couple
cool.
weeks ago. So,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It kind of matches our color scheme.
That's
We're kind of
exactly
orange
why I
and
did it.
blue. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for doing
there
that.
you go.
So, what comments are coming in or questions? Do we have anything?
So,
interesting
John-
coming in here?
John says Rogan isn't worse because he's pre-recorded. Office Hours or this show is worse without viewer interaction.
That's a fair comment to make. We're driven by We're driven by commentary, good or bad.
Yes.
It really gives us something to talk about. I love to bite into a negative comment about something that I'm doing. The color shirt I wear, or Alex said the other day, why don't I wear cool T-shirts? Well, first of all, you can't see the whole thing. You only see this much of it. And the other is I'm not a T-shirt kind of guy. I'm a polo shirt kind of guy. That's my look. And Alex, on the other hand, he's out there pushing Levi's. Which Levi's?
I don't know. It just says Levi's.
I know. Are we
think it's
getting paid for
comfortable?
that? Come on.
Yeah, is that monetized?
We're giving away free publicity.
I gotta, yeah, exactly. No. We want to get paid. Let's not talk about a brand name like that. Not unless they want to
and by the way,
show.
if any money comes in, I want to, as the chairman of the board here, so to speak, I say it goes to Alex because he's put the most money out there in the 2 years we've been going. So you got to get paid back. First in, first out. That's the way I look at it. So if you're giving money, it's because Alex deserves it. Because he does the most.
Well,
work
the goal, Mitch, is that we eventually will make money, but of course we first have to make sure that we're covering our expenses, and then of course make sure that there's also some room for profit too, which would be nice. Which is why everybody should go to patreon.com/thelastangry.dj. See what I did there? Patreon.com/thelastangry.dj and become a coffee supporter at $2 a month. In fact, where can you even buy a cup of coffee unless it's crap at a gas station for $2? You can't get a coffee at Starbucks, all right? A plain black coffee. You can't get one for $2.
Yeah, it's $5 and more. It's ridiculous. And then there's other little things that that distinguish our show. Who's got the most talent? Obviously, I do. But Alex over here. Alex over here. He's probably the biggest techie here, and Mark is the most human of the whole bunch of us. So Mark, there he is, Mr. Human, and he's sort of like the father figure here. He holds the spirit of the Last Angry DJ. So, stick that in my ear. Give me a wet willy. And we're easily amused. That's the other part of it. So what other questions are drifting in here to us?
I think we should go. Mark, let's go to our next topic for today.
Whose topic is it? Who's sponsoring the topic?
Well, it's the show topic, the next one, if we can just go to that.
I did. Did it work?
There we go. It did work.
Okay. Movie theater entertainment, good
Holy
enough,
mackerel.
has become the enemy of great. How will theaters survive?
You guys know what I'm talking about here when I say that?
What is the enemy of that's good enough? Great, right? Isn't it? What is that? How's that?
Well, the thing is that hopefully I didn't butcher that saying, but what I mean by this is that we've become so accustomed to having so much choice with content from these streaming services in our home with a decent enough 4K TV, with a decent sound system, that so many people now just do not want to bother going to the movie theater anymore, which I find sad because I love the movie theater experience. I love seeing movies in the theater. I love, I'll just go by myself. I'll get my popcorn, sit there, and I have a great time. And it's just really, really sad to me. And now I know there are problems with the industry where they will, these theaters now, because they have to have, to qualify for an award, they have to have it in the theater for a minimum 2-week run, right? But to me, that's just really, really sad. I think movies should be in the theater exclusively for a longer period of time. And I think
are you a
people
watcher?
Out.
That's my subset to that question. Are you a people watcher?
A people watcher? Well, I would say yes, but I mean, I'm not watching people when I'm staring at a screen. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, you just said the experience of being in a room with a bunch of other strange people, being energized.
Well, that's the other issue, Mitch, is that there really aren't people in the room because nobody's going to the theater. Sometimes I'm in the theater by myself, and sometimes there's maybe, I can count them on one hand, like 4 or 5 people in a giant theater designed for like 100+ people, right? It's just a sad state of affairs.
I've been thrown out of a few theaters because my friends notoriously bring me along because I read all the words they put up on the screen.
Oh, no,
the exits
you're one of those
the theater
guys?
are clearly marked. If there should be a fire, I mean, I just stand up and start doing that, and it's like a TED thing. And people start groaning, and I figured, hey, this is just to add a little, there's the best of times and there's the worst of times.
Do you actually go into the? Do you go at the front? Do you just stand at the front of the bottom of the?
No, I stand where I'm sitting.
Okay, I thought you would just maybe address the audience. You just walk down there.
I address them from my seated position.
Okay,
and if there's only 4 people there, that's not really hard to do. So I'll read any written commentary that's not part of the actual movie. I don't read the lower thirds or the captions if they have them up there. But it's interesting. I mean, a friend of show, Penn Ketchum, who has Penn Theaters in and around this area, he's a giant, huge fan of the motion picture industry, and his theaters are really unique and different, and they're doing different things with it. Some of the things, by the way, we're not allowed to talk about. We're not on NDA, but we're just out of politeness, we're not going to say. They're finding different ways to engage movie theaters in different ways. So I don't want to get into that. But I don't like the movie theaters to turn it into a simulacrum of your media center at home, putting beds there so you can relax with your friends, food and drink and alcoholic beverages. I just don't want to hear the sound of people eating.
They have the VIP theaters now where they have the full recliner seats and the people are bringing food and booze and everything.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
You pay a premium for that, though, right? That's a premium service.
Yeah, you do. Somebody's eating spicy food, and then you got to hear the results of that during the movie. Unless it's like...
20 years ago, we went through this phase where people were renovating some of the really nice old theaters that had the giant screens and had mezzanines and stuff, from the 20s and 30s. Right. They were renovating them into restaurants that played movies. And waiters and waitresses would come around and take your orders. And I thought that was an idea that would catch on, but you don't see those anymore. At least I don't see them around here anymore.
People want to eat their food. They don't want to watch a movie while they're engaged with a meal. It's like there was an Italian restaurant here in town that I used to go to called Carucci's. And they would sing opera while you were eating. And I just finally, people would be polite and they'd clap. And I would just say,
annoying.
Can you just shut up? I'm trying to eat my stromboli.
You went to a fancy restaurant with opera singers and got a stromboli?
Well, wouldn't you? You'd bring one in on your own. A Slurpee and a stromboli. That's all I needed. I was going to have some, fancy Italian dish ruined by some Italian opera.
No Chianti.
Yeah. Carucci. That's what it's just loud and annoying. It's like jazz music. I love jazz, but you have to pay attention to it and listen to it. You have to engage with it. You can't just have real jazz playing in the background while you're trying to do your taxes. It would drive you friggin' crazy. Maybe rhythmic jazz, more modern jazz. Yeah, I can listen to that in the background. But
you wouldn't want to screw up your taxes if you were trying to pay attention, if you're distracted by complex fusion jazz music.
Yeah, because it requires that you engage with it. You have to understand what's going on there.
All of a sudden you get a bill from the government saying that, I'm sorry, sir, you apparently owe us $250,000 because you missed that one line item.
Yeah, you were listening to jazz and blues, weren't you, when you did that? So that screwed you up. But the whole movie theater, I think movie theaters have problems, like a lot of public type. There was a book written, I forget what it was called. It was basically called Cocooning. And people are finding that life is so much easier to experience nowadays. If you just stay in your own home, in your own environment, you're protected from the crazy shit that people do out there in the public, the shootings and the weird things that happen. So I think people are going to spend more and more time, cuddled up in their little, safe space and do their thing. And if that means watching movies and doing TV, invite some friends over if you want interaction. Going out to movies, I think that's a traditional thing. Same thing with restaurants. Restaurants are having the same issue. People don't go out to restaurants like they used to because it was an experience to go out to a restaurant and enjoy the food there and watch people's reaction and enjoy the architecture, whether it was an old movie theater or it's a classic place or some new Art Deco concoction that's on there. I'm single, probably for a reason. Go ahead, Alex. It's okay for you to laugh. And I don't have a lot of friends. I do have some. 3 of them are here, or 2 of them are here right now. And sometimes I prefer to take my meal home and eat it here in my home, and not eat by myself. I do enjoy going out with other people to enjoy a movie or to enjoy a meal, but I'm not a solo player. It's just I'm introverted that way. It doesn't work for me. So I would love to have Penn Ketchum back on the show to talk about what's the latest and greatest, things that are going on. So if you haven't seen our show we did, I guess it was about a year ago, we did it with him. I don't know which show number it is off the top of my head. Just do a search on Penn Ketchum as our guest. He was a very interesting guy, and really, really loves the industry. And I don't know if we're answering the question about the theater. Is it good enough? Is it ruining the experience?
That was episode 37, Mitch. I just wanted to.
Oh, thanks for bringing 37. That up. So go to a search on episode 37 and see what Penn Ketchum has to say with it. He represents probably the cutting edge of what theater owners can do, and he can do stuff because he has 4 or 5 theaters going. It's not like it's some giant Regal cinemas, and they can't do different things without overhauling all of their theaters across the country. So I like the interactive thing. I think everything is better when people can interact with it. Maybe it would be interesting to watch a movie where people put their comments at the bottom, like, "Oh, that's stupid." The guy, we could see that coming a mile away. Wouldn't that be interesting to watch a movie that way? A second time. Maybe the first time you look at it the way it was designed. But, just getting commentary,
Well, I mean, it's got to be tough for the movie industry, especially
Absolutely
those that owns the theaters, because I was in Walmart the other day. An 88-inch TV set was like $790. And I mean, you need a big wall to put an 88-inch TV set on. But with the speed of the internet getting so much faster, can deliver the movies at much higher quality without a lot of issues coming down the pipe. So it's just amazing what you can get sitting at home, hitting pause when you want to hit pause, and go get some more popcorn or whatever. And it's just
Who decided
so
popcorn had to
hard.
be eaten with motion picture?
I don't
Sit
know, but
next to somebody that's eating popcorn, it's noisy.
I don't know, but
Well,
it was a brilliant decision because I love my popcorn.
Jerry
Yeah, but why
says
theater?
Jerry says, I like my movies at home. No overpriced popcorn. No loud comments from the peanut gallery. I put that part in. And a pause button.
Yeah, Jerry, I'm with you on that. And, the other thing about watching at home, maybe we should do an entire show around it. When you say 88, I think 88 is next to 102 is the upper limits of current technology for big screen TVs, flat screen TVs as we know them. There's a couple of things that I just want to point out about doing that. First of all, here comes one of Mitch's bitches. Mitch's bitches, that's got a rhyme to it. Don't hang your TV screen over your fireplace. Please, do not do that. First of all, it's too high when
That's
you
a
do
pretty
that.
small
Secondly,
fireplace.
yeah, well, people are
For an
hiding
88-inch TV set.
their screens over top of their fireplaces because they think it looks good for the room. Or, honey, why don't you hang that? That's the only wall that we have space for. It's not good. It's not good for the experience. It's distracting. It's get your screen smoky.
I
It might
100% agree.
Well,
I'm so glad I don't have someone else to dictate where I can put my TV.
Let me take the.
Wait a minute. What did Alex just say? Because he sounded like he actually was agreeing with me.
No, I
wanna
agree
hear the whole
100%
thing.
with that.
Okay, so let me take a different viewpoint.
All right.
Today, most of the fireplaces in houses are gas fireplaces. They're not the old fireplaces that radiate heat out. They have fans pushing that hot air out. So it's likely that the temperature on what was a chimney is now an insulated pipe going up through what looks like a chimney.
I don't
Is
think that's
far lower on the wall.
Just
than
put
the
a
actual
video on the
fireplace.
screen that looks
I
like
don't
a
think
fireplace.
that's what Mitch is complaining about. I think he's talking about it's just a poor experience to watch a film, because I'm going to demonstrate. This is what happens when you hang your TV above your fireplace, okay?
Yeah,
That's
your
what it
neck
looks
is out of
You got a
joint.
huge fireplace.
That's what.
Now stop it. He is an
I'm looking
he's
at my
an architect talking.
120-inch screen above my fireplace right now.
You might want to make a smaller fireplace out of your fireplace.
Yeah, the screen has to be at eye level from your favorite chair.
Right.
And the screen has to be tilted down just a little bit so you don't have to look at yourself in the screen when there's no picture on there. When it's a dark screen, you don't want to see you sitting there in your chair eating your popcorn. I mean, these are all things. I don't know if you sold TV screens, Alex, but these are all the things that you run into as problems. It's got to tilt down. It's got to be at the proper height. You don't need gigantic screens if you're like 10 feet away from your screen. You could probably do well with a 72-inch screen. And that's probably
I'm about, what am I for my screen here in my living room? I'm about, I would say, 8 feet away from that screen, and it's a 50. It's a 50-inch. It's not a big screen. I'd like to go to a 75. I think 75 will be a nice upgrade for me.
But much bigger. You're going like this. You're looking up here. You're looking over here.
You guys have it all wrong. Jerry's got it right here. If you watch it on an iPad and you hold that iPad close enough, it looks huge.
Well, there's another thing. I don't watch movies.
Don't watch a movie
Your
on your
arms get
iPad.
tired.
That's terrible.
On an iPhone, when you see people watching on an iPhone,
my God,
talk about destroying the experience. Come on, make
all
it
those
a thing,
pixels are more compressed, and the picture looks so much sharper.
Well, that's my point about having a 4K versus an 8K TV. If you're 10 feet away, you're not going to see the difference between the pixels. They're just going to merge together. There's an optimum viewing distance and angle for watching a TV. And right now, 4K is the thing. And, here's the other thing to keep in mind. If you're watching any kind of broadcast TV, they're not broadcasting 4K, even if they say they are. It might be up-resed to 4K, but there's very few, if any, broadcast television networks that broadcast anything less than 720i. That's typically what they're broadcasting. And the reason for that, they just don't have the money to upgrade their infrastructure to get to a better picture.
You'd have to upgrade the satellites. There's so many distribution points that have to be upgraded.
Yeah, everything
It's
has
too much,
to be. And
too much.
that might be
and
the
that's what
easiest.
you're going to see, I believe, is that they move away from traditional broadcast just because of the cost to upgrade everything, and they start moving to the internet as a way to distribute their media.
Yeah, who's buying HBO right now? I mean, last I heard, Disney made an offer and that got turned down. Something, they're changing. There's so much going on right now that You're not going to have a problem picking how many different streaming services you have very, very much longer, because they're all going to be down to 2 or 3. And guess what? When I was a kid watching TV, there were 3 networks. That was it. And eventually a 4th came on, and that ended up being Fox. So, only 52-inch waiting for it to die. They will die eventually. And the latest thing, and I spent mucho bucks on a Sony OLED, OLED, however you like to say that. I spent like $4,000 on it. I don't know, must have been 5 years ago. And it was supposed to be the nicest. Yeah, it was great. It was nice blacks and everything else. You don't want to look at it in a bright sunny day without the curtains closed. But the same TV, I think, is selling for half that price now. And there's other technology, micro LED, which is equal to that in terms of quality. So was that okay? Alex made a motion. Maybe it was just.
I think it's
adjusting
mini
the
LED.
Yeah, the mini micro. I said micro. So that technology will continue to go. When they change the pitch, that's what we're talking about. The more dots there are, and the closer they are together, the smaller they are, the better. And that's called the pitch, and that affects a lot of different things. So. Moire, if you're shooting a video with the TV in the background, all kinds of other things. So I'm very happy with my Sony 4K OLED, which I spent big bucks on. It literally was 4K. and I'm hanging it on the wall. But when I made my media center, I left space in there to allow for a 102-inch TV. Somewhere down the road, when I scratched those numbers on that winning Powerball ticket, and I'm able to upgrade to it. And it was funny. I was at the Best Buy Magnolias, where their studios are, where they sell these expensive, hyper expensive. And I said, "Who the hell buys these 102-inch LEDs?" He says, "Drug dealers." So, if you see somebody with a 102-inch TV screen in their house, chances are they just won the lottery or they're a drug dealer. Just so you know. Oh, Mark, bring us up to date on the questions coming in and comments. I see the little numbers going up and down.
The little numbers are going up and down. There's a couple comments talking about the sizes of TVs that people have and where they want to go when their TVs blow up. So it seems like the average size right now is in the 50s, and people want to go to 70s. So, I guess you have to sit further back.
70s is it. That's where everybody is. It used to be 65. 50 is like unless you're buying it used at Costco.
Well, they don't even really sell.
I don't even think they make them that small.
50s
Yeah,
are
yeah.
gone.
No,
and there's
they're
only
gone.
about 4 companies out there in Asia that make screens, and the rest of them are, they're being bought from the same sources. So I think Samsung is an original designer maker. I think Sony might buy from Samsung, but they
LG
put their
makes
own
panels as well.
They put their own version of electronics in it that make it as good as it can. So that's a neat thing. Yeah, the size to get now would be an 80. 65 is the old one now. 50, you're old. You need to toss out your screen somewhere. What else we got?
That's all I see right now. Should we start thinking about the next topic?
Yeah, let's jump to the next topic since I took this one and flew with it.
Okay. The next topic is Pick of the Week. Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, his new Pluribus sci-fi series on Apple TV. The first 3 episodes are available now.
Yes. I don't know if anyone's watching it other than me on this show, but that is my pick for this week. And so far, I'm really impressed. It's a bit of a weird show, and I love weird.
No spoilers.
Weird content. No, I'm not going to say anything. Just watch it, but that's my recommendation. You should absolutely check it out.
You know what the thing is that's working against it for me is, first of all, the name. I don't get it, and they're using, what was the actress that was in Breaking Bad? That she's in that,
was it
isn't she?
Rhea something? Rhea.
She's really good.
Horn.
I haven't
I'm probably
invested.
messing up her name.
It's cool to hear that the Vince Gilligan is behind it, and because I love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and anything else that those guys do. I don't think they're selling it well enough on HBO or Apple. What is it on Apple?
Apple
Let's
TV.
tell everybody. Yeah, on Apple. It's just a picture of her going like that over an orange background. So I will endeavor to look. I like the idea that when Apple releases a new series, they give you at least 2 or 3 episodes to get into it before they do a weekly update. I think that's a cool marketing, tactic on their part for doing that. So that's cool.
Well,
And,
pluribus is Latin for many, so does that have anything to do with the title? I mean, are they using a Latin
it just
word?
confuses me even more.
Actually, if you watch the show, that actually would make a lot of sense. And it's funny, I didn't notice this. I'm going to show this. Hold on a second. Let me just cut to my full screen here and go to this. I never noticed this at first, and this will make sense to those watching the show. But if you look at the way they spelled it on the poster, there's a 1, not an I there.
One to many.
So I'm going to leave it at that. If you've seen the show, you'll probably appreciate that.
All right, that's the next thing I'm doing after the show's done. I'm going to have a hamburger, and I'm going to watch Pluribus, E Pluribus, Unum.
Where are you going to have a hamburger from, Mitch? Where are you getting that?
I can't say because that's going to piss off one of our sponsors, so I'm just not going to say.
Okay.
Although they do have cube steak over at Arby's right now, and
I know.
it's okay.
I saw that. It's
okay.
It's like chicken nuggets, but it's made out of steak.
Yeah, but it's real steak. It's not like
Right.
nuggets. I don't know what's in that,
Okay,
but it's like chicken scrapple.
Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, not the other brand.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A's
I'm hungry now.
They're good. But Arby's is my pick of the week every week for that. And shows that I'm watching, and thanks for bringing that up. There's a show that's just getting ready to wrap up called The Last Frontier, and I believe that's on HBO Max. The Last Frontier is very interesting. You're not going to get the title making any sense to the what are you pointing at there?
Lower third.
Alex is pointing down, saying media packs. Okay, whatever.
I'm just pointing to the show.
It's a good story. It's a very good story. I'll give you a couple of cliff notes on it. There's a mysterious plane that the CIA has chartered, and it's full of interesting people that are criminals of one sort or another, and it crashes on purpose in the middle of an area of Alaska, which means they're now all isolated. And there's all this interaction between these criminals who managed to survive the crash and the people of that particular area of Alaska. It's in it's a spy thriller. It's a murder mystery. It's a very interesting story. And the last episode I saw has a cliffhanger ending on it, which really shocked the heck out of me. No spoilers here, but The Last Frontier on HBO Max. That's my choice. Mark, what do you got?
Well, what I have is Jerry says the Chair Company on HBO is great, and he's also enjoying Pluribus.
Again, another title I just don't, I'm not sure I want to invest my time in. The Chair Company. And then there's that other show they have on called Shrinking.
They sell Easy Boys.
Easy Boys.
Lazy Boys.
Okay.
Screwed that up.
Yikes. Yeah, you did. That's all right. It's not that there's anything wrong with that.
Mitch, Shrinking is fantastic. That is a fantastic series. You'd enjoy it.
You know which one I could not get into that Apple has? Severance. It's in its second season.
Severance is so good.
No,
I
just
love
can't.
it.
Just cannot.
Really?
Way too much TV.
Yeah, I just can't.
I watch a lot.
Severance.
I watch a lot
All
of
right.
TV. That is very
well,
true.
apparently you're low-hanging fruit, Alex, for whatever people want to watch on TV. So, anything else? Any other shows? Mark, you have a favorite that you're enjoying?
Yes, I listen to
Architectural Digest.
Radio.
Says the radio guy.
Radio.
Not biased at all.
What radio?
Radio.
If you're going to say it, So how do people listen to your...
to Talk of Delmarva on WGMD.
WGMD.
92.7, 98.5, WGMD.com.
Is that how you think radio guys sound when they do that?
I was
At
imitating
least you're not
you.
doing the Alex. Everybody, it's 6:25 in the city.
Imitating you.
Alex laughs every time I do the old radio.
What are the call letters again?
WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva.
WGMD.
92.7,
I feel like I'd have to practice that. I feel like I could stumble over those call letters. I'd have to.
You know the hardest call letters I had?
WGMD.
Here in town, WSTW. It's W. First of all, is a hard word to say.
Right.
It's double U. Just think of a U.
WSTD.
And you put two U's
STD,
next to each other. That's a double U. Not a W. Not a double.
What was the rest
W.
of that again? W what?
STW.
Yeah.
I meant for Steinman Broadcasting.
See, I think I would accidentally say STD on the radio. I would screw that up and embarrass myself.
Nice of you to do that. It's all good. So, call letters.
WSTD.
The best one I had was WFIL. It just flowed. It's easy to
one
say.
of the oldest ones in Delaware is WSUX. And SUX is short for Sussex County. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's now what is it? SUX?
SUX. No, we're USX, and we
USX,
transmit from the same site as the old WSUX.
Yeah, you had to change it because too many people laughed
there's
about
it. There's a building that's part of our radio stations that says WSUX.
It sucks in Delaware.
Did you hear that? That's that sucking sound.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh. Absolutely. So that's cool. Yeah, call letters, always an interesting thing. And some stations, they throw away the call letters and they call them, we're Magic 102.
Yeah, you see that more and more. If people just not trying to brand or market around the call sign, but brand or market.
The only
around
problem is if one, like when the Magic in Philadelphia was the first Magic station that I'm aware of that Greater Media did, was a huge success, format wise, and they were playing 70s and 80s stuff, pretty much middle of the road. And it was hugely successful. All of a sudden, radio stations all over the country, maybe the world, were calling themselves Magic something. And they had to go out and fight, for their copyright. They had a Magic in Detroit, which was owned by Greater Media and a few other places. But radio stations, they see something that's working somewhere, and they just jump all over it, and they duplicate it in every possible way that they can. So,
well, don't you think a lot of that is that there's only a couple of major companies that own stations, and they probably pick up on a name like Magic, and they start naming their stations in different regions with that same slogan. Well,
that's what Greater Media did.
Yeah.
But at the time that they were defending the copyright intellectual property of Magic, those big stations or big companies were not around. It was a lot of independent radio stations all over the country. But that's what Greater Media, the owner of Magic, did. They took that concept and they duplicated it all over the country, and they did very well with it. And now they're owned by, I was going to say Barsky. What's the name? It starts with a B. The big radio company. I'm losing my mind again. All right.
Beasley.
Beasley. Thank you very much. Beasley. I call him Barsky. Barsky Broadcasting. What a great name. Or Barfy Broadcasting, whatever you would prefer. All right, that's it. Any other low-hanging fruit questions or comments that we need to cover before I go to the next subject matter?
Nope, I don't see anything.
I guess that's a negative, so we're going to move on to Mitch's Beef of the Week. Here we go, brought to you by my friends at Arby's. There is the Beef of the Week, and thank you to our friends at Mimo Live for making that very expensive graphic that's there. I would capitalize the first letter of each word except of. So just
you're
in the
dating
future.
yourself.
What? How's that?
Because we grew up with title case, but the younger generations don't believe in capitalizing.
Yeah, I would capitalize. Of is a word. I think if you go to you can search it.
No, I actually believe in that.
And the
hold on. I will take responsibility. I believe in title case, and I completely forgot to do that when I put this in. So guess what?
Caps.
I'm going to fix that live on the show. Everyone's going to sit here.
Don't capitalize of.
Until I'm not gonna. Well, of is a preposition, right? So you don't capitalize the preposition, right?
There's a bunch of words on a list. You have to go to the New York Times.
The is supposed to be capitalized, is it not?
Don't capitalize the little words.
No.
But I thought the is not a preposition.
I would.
No. You only capitalize the when it starts with the and when it's like at the beginning of the line.
Like the angry DJ.
Okay.
So he's here typing away.
Hold on.
I hear him
I'm going to fix it.
Sounds like a TikTok machine.
Clickety-clack.
Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Is that better?
Wow.
That's the way it
Where
should
do you
be.
get service like that live?
Right there on the show.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Looks very expensive. Probably is. I like the wipe off too. That's a very clean wipe off. Yeah. Thank you, Oliver. We appreciate the capability. Okay, beef of the week. I only have like one or two. Here's my beef of the week. Please stop threatening another Star Trek motion picture. It seems every week, is it up? Is it down? They're going to do it. And we're talking about the Kelvin timeline that J.J. Abrams started. Alex, I know you're a big fan of Star Trek. But it's like they're going to do it. Now they're not going to do it. It's going to be written by some so-and-so. It's going to be a porno. Please just stop. Just stop doing it. They did announce, or they teased at Paramount, that they're going to completely restart the Star Trek, and they're going to leave canon behind. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. The two guys that are doing it, the same ones that did the Dungeons and Dragon redo. I don't know if you've seen that, but apparently they sold something to Paramount and they love it. And it's not going to have Kirk, Spock, and Scotty and McCoy or any of those guys. It's not going to be there. Probably not going to have Klingons and Romulans and androids and Andorians. Sorry. they're all going to be gone. Meanwhile, over on the TV side, I'm hearing that Enterprise is coming back with Scott Bakula as an admiral. So they keep teasing us with these things, but as far as movies go, you're not going to see anything coming from Star Trek for at least 3 or 4 years. Because if they're just now thinking about doing it, it's going to take them a while to put it together. But forget Chris Pine, who I never really liked in the role of Kirk. That's gone. It's not going to happen. So maybe they're going to do something different. The only Star Trek worth watching has been Strange New Worlds. I think that's pretty good, except for a few episodes where they go off on the deep end and do it as a musical, or they bring in their animated characters from Below Decks or Lower Decks. I just thought that it was just too much strangeness for me to deal with. So that's my beef of the week. No more worrying about anything more on the Kelvin timeline from J.J. Abrams for Star Trek. It's going to be something completely different, probably non-canon, and something from scratch. So I'm looking. Hopefully, I'll live long enough to see that. I'm
going to pile onto this and just say that the people that are currently writing modern-day Star Trek are talentless hacks who have no idea about science fiction, who are bereft of any kind of originality. What do you think of that?
How do you
you said how you feel about it. That's for damn sure. That's for sure. And you're a bigger Trekkie than I am. So
I am.
I'll give that to you.
You know, this is my hope for the new Star Trek movie. Whatever
we need music here.
Form it decides to take. Exactly. Mitch, what I want to see is something original. I want to see something that hasn't been done before. I don't want a prequel. I don't want to go back to the well and rehash the same stories. I want something original, and I want to see on the bridge of whatever that starship happens to be, whether it's Enterprise or some other starship, I want to see the creme de la creme of Starfleet. I want to see people that are competent in their jobs, that are not whiny complainers. I want to see people working together as a team, exploring the unknown, and I want to see hope for a better future. That's what I want to see in Star Trek.
Wow, there's your new title, Hope for a Better Future. And please, do not use time travel as a writing shtick. I'm sick and tired of time travel, multiverse movies. If they
What
use
about
that,
Whales?
it's a crutch. Whales was a jump the shark moment, literally.
Actually, that's a fun movie. I have a soft spot for it.
It was a good movie, especially when Spock pinches the guy that's actually the producer of the movie. It's just a great scene. That was for us. They did that for us, the Trekkie wanderers. So anyhow, I agree with Alex. What he's saying makes sense to me. And please, on the Enterprise bridge, please have something bigger than a 50-inch TV screen. We're just tired of that tiny little binky. Put it on the view screen. Engage. Enlarge. How big can the offending ship coming in be seen on a 50-inch screen across a room full of people? So apparently they're straight now. But I'm 100% something brand new, something unexpected. I want it to be so wow that if you begin to open your mouth about after you've seen it about what happens in it, the thousands of Star Trek fans will attack you and knock you to the floor. I want it to be that good. So that's my beef of the week. Something brand new. Please stop teasing us. Just make up your mind, Paramount, and do it. And as far as Strange New Worlds, stop the weird theatrical dance numbers and singing. And no more time traveling. They went off the rails on that with Enterprise. I think that's what killed that. So no more time travel scenarios. Ever since the City on the Edge of Tomorrow or whatever, what was that one? The one that
it's one of the best Star Trek episodes too from the original series. It probably
is. And Harlan Ellison, the guy that wrote it, hates that episode because apparently Gene Roddenberry completely rewrote it. So that was it. So what are you going to do? And it looks like I was going to see if anybody had any Star Trek comments. Star Trek versus Star Wars. I could represent Star Wars, and Alec could be the Star Trek supporter, and the battle would ensue, and it would be a nasty thing. So that wraps up another show. Mark's going to be out next week, and our returning champion and friend of show, Mr. Steven Stryker, will be here for show number 90 next week. Look forward to seeing Steve is able to talk about just about anything. He's an interesting guy, and we have quite a few people that tune in specific. Not that Mark's bad. It's just that Mark deserves a little time off.
I'm going to be out getting a new TV set. I'm going to replace my tubed TV set that has a 4x3 format, and it's black and white.
Well, I could tell you where you could put some of those tubes, but that's a different subject. So off we go. That's it for this time. And Alex, how do people reach out and touch us if they want to?
Absolutely. They can become part of our Discord community. I would strongly recommend that. I'm going to pop up a QR code that is hovering over my left shoulder right there. Just popped up on the screen. Just pull your phone out and bring up the camera app, scan that QR code. That will invite you into our community. It's a great place to chat with us during the show, after the show, and we've got all sorts of channels there with fun topics to talk about movies, TV shows, talk about industry inside stuff. Whatever you want to talk about, it's a great place to be, so head over to Discord for that. If you like this show, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That'll make sure you get notified every time the show goes live on Sunday. We broadcast the show on YouTube at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time, and it is also available as an audio podcast wherever you find your podcast. That is on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify. You can ask your Amazon Alexa device or any smart device in your home to play The Last Angry DJ, and we will be there in your ears. Also would like to thank the fine folks at Boink Software for making Mimo Live. That is the application we are using to basically compose this entire show and stream it live in beautiful 4K. And it looks fantastic. And we couldn't do the show at the level of quality, bringing in all these Zoom participants isolated with separate audio and video and fancy graphics and all that sort of stuff. So we sincerely appreciate their contribution to the show. Back to you, Mitch.
Yeah, I'd like to get us a sponsor. Hair Club for Men would be a good sponsor for every one of us here on the show. Why don't we get all of us on Hair Club for Men? Did they still do that anymore? It won't come off. It won't come off. Wow, look at that. There's a lot of streamlined guys going here. Yeah, make sure you ask .thelastangrydj.com and do all your magic fun stuff. We appreciate your input, and we appreciate if Alex will put his hat back on or pull his hoodie up. Either way, it's just I'm just not used to seeing him that way. Now he looks like a mad French painter.
And thank you to all the producers who came in and had nice comments. And it makes part of the show, makes it work,
that's right.
Makes it flow.
Better productive today than reproductive tomorrow. That's the way I look at it. So you got to sneak Alex in there because, of course, he's pushing the buttons. He's not going to show anything. Oh, there he is.
What do you think of that?
Does he look like a starving French artist working on a street corner somewhere with chalk? Yeah, there you go. Pull your hoodie up. Let's see how you look with the hoodie look.
Okay, hold on.
Can you do that?
Wait a minute. Yes, I can. Now I look like a hoodlum.
Here's
I look like a hooligan.
Anybody that you see wearing a hoodie is up to no good. I'm sorry. It's just you're covering your face for a reason. So what are you going to do? If I tried to go into my bank to make a deposit with a hoodie on like that, they would run screaming, and they know me there. It's bad enough when I go wearing a hat. So what are we going to do?
I'm actually more threatening if I take the glasses off. A guy with no glasses. And a hoodie.
You look
like
at that.
Mr. Look how shifty. Look how shifty.
Mr. Robot. You look like
you can't trust this. You can't
Mr.
trust
Robot.
This.
That's what he looks like. There he goes.
Yeah. Rami Malek.
What a stupendous actor with a huge range. Amazing. So, Mark, what did you learn this week other than nothing?
I learned that I need a new TV set. Black and white, 4x3. It's just driving me up the wall. You guys are talking about 50-inch, 60-inch, 75-inch. It's like listening to a bunch of fishermen after they come back.
You need to buy a Quasar. Remember those TVs? Quasar! Boom, 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 boom. That's what you need. All right. Thank you very much for being here. Show number 89 wrapping up next week. Steve Stryker. Mark, we wish you best on your vacation days. And
Thank you.
We'll see you all next week. Take care.
The day I die.